Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, and freaks of nature of all ages. My name is Brian Bad Hippie Jackson, and welcome to my channel. And welcome to the next episode in Let's Build Treasures of the Dead. Now in the last episode we were up in this area of the map and we did a little bit of basic work with the BSP and the CSG so we could learn how to build the walls and get those all placed in. And since Treasures of the Dead is a top-down game, we really are never going to have to get into the edit mode for geometry mode to edit the BSP and CSG. It's all very simplistic. Now if we ever build a first person shooter or a third person game or something like that in UDK, then we will go over geometry mode and learn how to edit the geometry, but in this game that's not necessary. I also put in the end level vortex thing like I showed you in the first episode that we've got placed in level 1 and level 2. Levels 3 through 7 don't have it yet, so when we get into level 3 and start doing the stuff in there, I'll show you where that vortex is in the content browser so we can add that in to the end of the other levels. But before we get into doing our texture paintings and putting our prototype textures on this map, we're going to drop into our base, the TOTD, Treasures of the Dead base, real quick. Now, in the very first tutorial episode, what we did was basically built this base. Now, I didn't save what we were doing in that tutorial because I already had this base map built, but the only thing I had in the base map was the player start and the camera, and the only kismet I had was to attach the camera to the player. So what I did was I went ahead and I set everything up. So we've got our camera and our camera target attached to the player. We have our spotlight, which is our flashlight, attached. We have our point light for our character's ambient light attached. We can toggle the camera on and off, and we can now toggle the HUD. The other thing I did was I adjusted the dominant directional light, because what we want on that, let's hit F4, we have it set at 0.025, which is about what I want for all these levels. But the main thing is we want that dominant directional light to be pointing straight down. We don't want it to cast shadows in this game. In other games we'll put it at a different rotation so that it does cast shadows on the landscape and things like that, but in this one we don't want it to cast any shadows off of the walls. We just want to use it as something very similar to an ambient light, to give a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of extra light in the level so that everything is not completely pitch black, it's just really dark. And to get it pointing straight down, we set the pitch to -90. So we've got all that done, and if we hit play, then we can see we've got our character. And I already showed you how to set the stuff in the view world properties so that we have a game type, and how to click on no default inventory for players so that we don't start with a weapon. We have our little bit of ambient light surrounding the character. We can toggle our flashlight on and off, and we can toggle our HUD on and off. And I went ahead and did that so that when we start building levels 8, 9, and 10, or actually levels 9, 10, and 11, we've got level 8 built. And yes, there are 11 levels. I made a boo-boo when I said there were only 10. There are 11 levels. So when we build levels 9, 10, and 11, we'll start with this base map, and we won't have to redo the player startup kismet. It'll already be good to go. So let's go up to our recent file arrow, drop down, and hit level 8. And let's go ahead and start putting some textures in. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to put in prototype textures. So we're going to select our floor where it's highlighted. We're going to open the content browser, and I have the prototype textures in the BH Tutorial 01 package that I created. So we're going to click on that. We're going to right click, and we're going to fully load the package. There we go. Now we can select materials, and these are all of our prototype materials that we can use. So what we want to do for the floor is, I haven't decided yet whether I want this floor to be dirt or stone, but we have two different materials for the floor. so that we can set it for dirt or stone. And we're actually going to create a third material so that we can set it to wood. So the prototype checker albedo, whatever albedo, that's the default material, and it has a default dirt sound attached to it. That just happens automatically when you create a material. If you don't assign a physical material to it, it will just automatically use the default dirt sound. So that's what the floor we use for dirt. This is a copy of that material where I have applied a stone physical material so that when you walk on it, it sounds like you're walking on stone. So let's go ahead and do one for wood. So we're going to select our default material. We're going to right click. We're going to create a copy, and we're going to leave it in the materials folder, and we're going to take that albedo out and replace it with wood. So that's our name, prototype checker wood, and we're going to click OK. And that's going to create our wood material. Now what we're going to want to do with that is we're going to open it in the material editor, and you can see that all we have is a basic diffuse texture, and we have no physical material selected. So to add a physical material, we need to drop open inside of UDK game content. We go to UT3, we drop that open. I don't need all that sound stuff open, I don't know why it is. We're going to drop open environments. We're going to scroll way down. I don't need that open, or I don't need that open. We're going to scroll way down until we get to physical materials, and these are our physical materials. We're going to right click, we're going to fully load just to make sure, and we're going to select wood. Now we're going to come back over here. We're going to make sure nothing is selected so that we have our physical material visible, and we're going to click the little green arrow, use selected object in content browser, and that is going to add the physical material default wood. Now we're going to click the little green check mark box, which will save that wood material, and that's done. Now we don't need those physical materials anymore, so we can close up environments, close up UT3. We're going to select BH Tutorial 01, which is Bad Hippie Tutorial, and we're going to save that package because we just created a new material. Come on, save. Save, save, save. Okay, so now with the materials saved, we can select materials, and I'll show you the difference in what the physical materials do. So if we select Prototype Checker Albedo, we right click on the floor and apply material. Now that's way too small, and I'll worry about that here in a minute. We hit play, and under our feet we have the default dirt sound. If we select stone and apply material stone and hit play, then we have a stone sound under our feet. And if we select wood and apply material wood, then we have a wood sound under our feet. We're just going to go ahead and leave it with wood for right now. When we put in our final cartoon material textures, we can change it to whatever we need it to be. Now, the squares are not the size I want them. So we're going to right click, we're going to go to surface properties, we're going to select planar apply, and we're going to reduce the tiling from 1 to 0.25. And we're going to apply, and that puts the texture tiling right where I want it. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is those walls. So we're going to select that first wall, we're going to right click, we're going to go to select surfaces, and we're going to select adjacent walls, and that will hopefully include every wall in the map. The only ones it wouldn't include is if there's any free-floating walls somewhere that aren't attached to the other ones. But every wall that connects with each other is going to be an adjacent wall, so we can select every wall on the map just by doing select adjacent walls, which works for me. Okay, so with that done, we want the gray material for the wall, so we just click on it, then we right click on our walls, apply material, prototype, albedo, gray. And that is not the size we want it either, so we're going to right click, select surface properties, we're going to leave it at planar apply, and we're going to set that size to 0.5 and hit apply. And now the tiling size of our walls is exactly what we want. Now we're going to go ahead and select the black material for the roof, select surfaces, select adjacent floors. It will count it as a floor, and it's going to select everything that is attached or connected to it, and that should give us all of our floors. We're going to right click, apply material, right click, surface properties, and since the last thing we used was 0.5, our surface properties are going to remember that, so all we have to do is click apply. And now we have all of our prototype materials applied to level 8. The only thing we still need to do is rebuild our lighting. Now if we play, we're not going to get a rebuild lighting warning. But what we are going to find is there's still that tinge of blue in the lighting because it's still using the light maps from when we had the default texture in. So since we didn't add any static meshes or CSG or move any lights or anything around, we don't have to rebuild the lighting for the shadows and things of that nature, but the flashlight and the dominant directional light is still, because of the previous light maps, going to have that tinge of blue in it from the default textures, and to get rid of that and have it produce the gray and white ambient light, we need to rebuild the lighting. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, now we got our light rebuilt, and if we hit play, we're going to notice that the ambient light is a little bit different. We don't have that blue tinge anymore because the light map reflections from the default colors are gone, and we're working with light map reflections from white, black, and gray. So that fits the level much better. Okay, now that we've got that done, we're just going to zoom that back out to the full screen kind of thing. We're going to go to File and Save Current Level. Now we're less than 15 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and call this episode good because now we know how to apply materials to our floors, our walls, our ceilings, to our CSG and our BSP. And when we come back the next time, we're going to add in the last of our doors in level 1, and I'll show you how to do those gates, how to put a static mesh into the level, and we'll start in our first little tutorial on how to use Matinee and how to set up the Matinee and Kismet so that we can open that door. Please do not forget to check the links in the description below for the Disabled American Veterans and the Wounded Warriors Project. Let's please help support our veterans. If you liked the video, then hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends and family to hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Please don't forget to leave me a comment. They are always welcome, good, bad, or somewhere in between. Thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate your support. You guys are freaking awesome. And until next time, this is Brian Bad Hippie Jackson saying peace, love, clean underwear, and happy gaming.